What's up, team? It's Joe Mill back at you here with Killer Miller Q. Today we got a good cook coming at you. We're gonna be smoking a pork belly out here on the Lone Star Smoker. Definitely tune in if you've never done this one before. This one's gonna be a good one to put into your rotation. I'm gonna also throw you some bonus footage and show you how I'm gonna put it together. Promise you, can't go wrong. All right, team. Before we get into this pork, I'm gonna show you a little quick and easy recipe for you to put together some slaw. Many different ways you can actually do your pork belly. I'm gonna actually be breaking it down and actually making it pulled and making pork belly sliders. So we're gonna put together a little bit of slaw. This is the night before, and then it's pretty much gonna sit in the refrigerator overnight. The next day, only thing I'm gonna have to do is pour the liquid off of it and go ahead and serve it right on top. So in this mixture that I already have here, and literally it's as simple as a dump and go. I'll leave the exact amounts for you in the description so you can actually follow along there. But pretty much what you're gonna have in here is a little bit of peanut oil, some red wine vinegar, some teriyaki sauce, some sugar, some salt, you got onion powder, garlic powder, and black pepper. All of that, give it a little quick hand whisk. It's just gonna sit in the bowl. Like I said, this is going in the refrigerator, so whatever bowl you choose, make sure you got a nice tight top. And then we're gonna go ahead and jump into this red cabbage that you got. Pretty much pretty simple. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna go right down the line and we're gonna break this and cut it right into a direct half. Okay? From there, I just wanna take that half and I'm gonna cut it in half. With this recipe, it only calls for a quarter of this actual whole red cabbage. With that said, you can totally make more if you need to, but it's only such a small amount that you're actually gonna be using. Probably won't need too much. When you kind of look at this thing and you get it open, you got this white part in here, which is more or less your stem. We want to try to cut most of that out and leave out as much white as you can. Stick to nothing but more or less the red cabbage and the leafy part, as that white part is going to be pretty bitter, and that's going to be something that's not going to be too appeasing. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. Nothing too fancy, but just wanted to give you an idea of what I did. So I took that quarter and I basically went ahead and chopped it into a bunch of long cylinders. I took out any pieces that had too much white on there, and I just want to kind of show you some of the pieces that I got rid of. Now, again, I'm only using a quarter of this whole cabbage, so I got plenty to work with. So not only did I cut out this initial piece of the stem or whatever have you, as I got to some of these harder pieces that are thicker and definitely have more white showing, I might have cut off a little bit of the leaf off of the edge, but I got rid of these. These are ones that aren't going to really turn into the greatest slaw, and it might just be fine. But with that said, I don't want it to end up being too bitter, and I got more than enough. So more or less, I'm just going for the leafy stuff. Any of the harder pieces that are thicker, these are some of the things that I got rid of. So just so you get an idea what that looks like. But here go our finished product. Nothing too crazy. Bunch of chops along the way. And then if you need to, maybe make them shorter. At the end of the day, it is going to be some vinegar in there. A lot of this is going to break down. It's going to end up pretty stringy. As far as our mixture, not that it's really much to actually look at, but here it is right here. I've kind of gave it a little quick little whisk with the fork. And all we're going to do is add in our cabbage directly into this mixture. Sorry about the scraping it. And then what we're going to do is throw the top on it. We'll give it a couple good shakes and mix it all around so that way it's nice and incorporated. And all this is going to do is sit overnight, right in the refrigerator. From there, when it's time to actually serve, you want to pour this liquid out. It's going to be already marinated. This slaw is going to be amazing, and it's just going to go right on top. So as simple as that. Give it a shake, throw it in the fridge. See you tomorrow. We start on this pork. Let's go. All right, team, let's get into this pork, all right? So looking at this pork belly, and this is just something I picked up at Costco, nothing too crazy. Again, I wanted to kind of keep with the theme of finding something that was a little bit cheaper while meat prices are a little bit higher. This is $34, and this is 9.29 pounds of pork belly. And if you don't know what pork belly is, basically this is bacon. So you got a whole lot of fat on one side, it's uncured bacon, and you got a whole lot of succulent meat in here. A lot of different ways that you can prepare it and a lot of different ways that you can actually eat it on the back end. But today what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna half this for today's recipe, and I'm gonna do a little something special and a second cook for you another time. And pretty much what we're gonna end up doing is this is gonna end up like pulled pork. It's gonna be great, it's gonna be bathed in all that good fat, and it's gonna have a whole lot of flavor. So some of the general things that you're gonna need, I won't show you too much because it's pretty simple, but I will bring you in and let you know what I am gonna do. I'm gonna pretty much half this pork belly in half, and then from there, I'll flip it over, and on this fat side, I wanna score it. So I'll be some diagonal lines, probably about 1 inch apart all the way across, and then I'll come on the opposite way and go the opposite direction. So it'll be a nice little pineapple type look, and I'll make sure that you get a chance to see that when it's all done. Other than that, there's minimal trimming. If you're gonna do anything, maybe if you see some silver skin on this meat side, you can get rid of it. But truthfully, this is gonna be a simple cook, and it's gonna be all about letting the meat speak for itself and putting a good smoke on it. All right, other than that, things that you're gonna need for today's cook. Let's make sure that you always, like always, have you a good knife, good sharp knife. We're gonna be using your wireless temperature probes. We'll be able to kind of monitor that on the way. Always gonna double check it on the back end with my thermopin. And like I do for a lot of you been watching and keeping along, with a lot of my pork, I like to stick with the Malcolm. I like to start off with a light layer of my AP, and I like to come behind it with the barbecue rub. That's exactly what we're gonna be doing on today's cook. Other than that, I will start off with a little bit of a slather. This slather has got a little bit of mustard 50-50 with a little bit of pickle juice. Let's go to work. So here's a close-up of this pork belly. This is the meat side, as you pretty much saw the fat side when I was showing from afar, and it was in the package. So pretty much what I did, a lot of times I might only take the middle section as it's usually more meaty, and then I would take the outsides to do what I'm gonna do for the second cook. But today, with looking at the way this one is made, this is from Costco. They always got great meat, and truthfully, it's pretty meaty all the way through. I'm gonna actually use this side for today's cook. There's a little bit of silver skin right here, but I'm really not gonna worry about that too much. But if you kind of look at it out of this cut, that look like bacon, right? Like I said, it's uncured bacon, so you get an idea of what meat we're gonna be cooking. A lot of times people don't know too much about pork belly. This one here I'm gonna throw in the fridge and take care of later. I'll flip it over, and I'll let you get a peek when I actually do this. So I'm gonna go ahead and score this fat side, and we're gonna be taking our knife, and I'm basically be making some 1-inch lines diagonally going across. And then I'll come on the other side and do the exact same thing. So I have me a nice little checkerboard pattern when this thing is all said and done. And it's just basically gonna allow a lot of my rub to go ahead and fall into these cracks to start working on seasoning that meat from the other side, and also kind of giving it a little help to start getting ready to render. I'll bring you back when I got it cleaned up. All right, that was a quick one. So I'll give you a little peek at what this looks like. We don't go that deep with the knife. At the end of the day, it's just more or less, you're just scoring it. I mean, at the end, you don't want it to fall apart on you. I am gonna be cooking this on the rack, so that'll help me with moving it around and spinning it and everything, so I don't necessarily lose it all or falling apart as it starts to cook a little bit further. And a pro tip, putting that rack in there down with the pointer sides up, you know, basically putting it in there upside down, actually helps you so it can actually sit there and still be able to spin on your grates. Otherwise, it's gonna sit in there and it's gonna get stuck and it'll be tough to get in and out. So put it in upside down, put your meat directly on top of that. You can spin while you're in there, and then when you're ready to pull it out, you come out and you get your stuff right nice and tight. But I just brought you back real quick so I can just show you the simple way we're gonna get this together. So I'm just gonna be using my slather, which is nothing but a little mustard and pickle juice. We're gonna get a nice little layer in. You can use whatever you want for your own slather or binder, or if you want and you're gonna let it sit long enough, you can go no binder. I like to use a binder, especially on my pork. So I'm gonna hit both sides with a little bit of this. From there, I'm coming over the top with my AP rub. How to barbecue right, no killer hogs. Can't go wrong with this on pork, I tell you. I don't need to put a ton on here. You know, bacon's got a lot of salt that's gonna already be in here, so I should have a decent amount of flavor, but we're just gonna get a nice little coating. Like I said, sometimes when you see me doing on the rib videos, if I don't hit every spot with this, that's all right. Notice I started with that seasoning meat side down, or sorry, meat side up. That was on purpose, and the reason being is when I come over the top with the second rub, I want to already be sitting up the way I want it to be. Make sure we get those edges. Now we're coming over the top with the Killer Hogs barbecue rub. This one's got a beautiful color, great flavor and smell. Got a little sugar in it. More of a savory rub. Won't put a lot of salt on there, so I'm gonna come heavy with this. This is what I really want the flavor of this pork belly to be. Give it a little pat. Sure I cover up any spots I see. And I'm gonna go ahead and give it a flip. And now I'm coming over the top with the same thing, a nice healthy layer. I always make sure my corners or sides are kind of done from the top and from the bottom. And it's as simple as this. We're getting this baby all seasoned up. All I'm gonna do from here is transport it over to this rack. I'll let it sit for a second. Probably give it a good 30 minutes or something like that, as my pit's kind of getting up to temp and getting some wood in there. And I bring you back when it's time to pop this baby in, and also let you get a peek of it at what it looks like right now. Let's go. All right. There she is. So now you get a chance to check it out. It's been sitting over there hanging out for probably about a good 15 minutes. My pit's just about finished up, getting me some good coals going so we can get to cooking on this thing. So it'll probably hang out for another 15, but I can already see it starting to absorb into it nicely. Looking pretty good. So at the end of the day, we got this on the rack. Like I said, I'll be throwing it on there. We talk a little bit about the cook real quick fast. We checking this thing out. I'm cooking it still fat side down. Like I said, that usually renders the best results for me. I like to get that fat cap down there really rendered out, and I'm gonna be spritzing along the way with a 50-50 mixture of apple cider vinegar and apple juice. I want that directly on my meat side so I can get a nice little sweet kiss on top, and I make sure I baby it and keep it nice and pretty. So we're gonna be cooking today at 250. And like I said, this was roughly about 9.29, if I'm not mistaken, pounds. We cut it pretty much close to being in half. So we were looking at roughly about a 5 pound, 4.5 to 5 pound piece of the meat, because I did try to go for the bigger side. So we'll see how long this thing takes. And like I said, we're going to temp it until we can pull it. So I'm going to take it all the way up to 200. So my plan is I'm going to be spritzing it, checking on it every hour or so once I get it on here, making it nice and pretty. Once I get the color I want, then I'll be coming back to wrap it and then take it all the way there. All right, so this baby's going on the pit now. Man, she's still looking good. I'm trying to told you. Look how good it look once you sweat it out. Filling all those crevices, everybody got a little love. This baby's ready to rock. So like I said, we up to temp, 250. You know your thumbs is burnt up when you can just push that in, don't even bother you. Other than that, I'll bring you back in when it's time to spritz in about an hour. Night night, little baby. All right, first stop. We rolling right along. It's only been about 45 minutes, but sometimes I need to throw a log in anyway. This is always usually a good time to go ahead and check out your meat, get it spritzed up and everything while you need to keep it open for a second. And it's looking good. We got some good looking color. I can see the little bit of sweat starting to dry up. Probably don't need a whole lot of spritz, but I don't want these ends and stuff like this to dry up on me too much. So I'm gonna give them a little bit. And like I said, I'm just using a little 50-50 mixture, apple cider vinegar and apple juice, just to give it a nice little sweet coating and everything. And I'm just gonna glaze him up real nice, and we're gonna let him keep on rocking. I know I told you I was going to, I can already see that bark is setting in as it's not giving away, as I'm kind of giving it a light spritz. I know I had told you that I was going to probe this. They haven't put the probe in yet because right now I don't need it. Initially, it's all about color. I know I'm nowhere near the temperature that I'm going to need to get to be done. So really in this whole beginnings process, all I'm doing right now is getting my smoke in on the meat and getting me a nice color. Once I get to the color I want, that's when I'll wrap it. That's when I'm gonna probe it, and then we'll kind of monitor it out from there. Other than that, as far as this cooking process and we're getting through it, I'm using some good old oak wood today, and I got a couple cherry chunks that I'll be tossing in, and we're gonna keep it rolling. Let's check in. We at about an hour and a half. Color's still looking good. I'm throwing some wood in, so I'm about to get a quick spritz just to keep him moist, but it's looking pretty good itself. And this is one thing too, you see, that's why you don't need to actually even cut up that deep, because as it starts cooking, you can see it stretching out on its own from where we did that pattern. And that's where you're getting that split there, is that's kind of just cooking through. That ain't no problem for me though, because we're gonna be pulling this whole thing. Hit it with a little spritz of this apple cider vinegar and apple juice, a little 50-50. And then, like I said, this is why I like putting that rack upside down. Just move that whole thing just like that, and give it a whole different angle to hit that smoke. Make sure we're getting some good even cooking over here, which usually ain't no problem. Alright, I wanted to bring you in. We had about 2.5 hours. This baby's looking good. I just gave it a little spritz and gave it a rotation. I'm pretty much at about what color I wanted at. I said I was gonna go about 3 hours of smoke on here, and I'm about to get this thing wrapped up. When I wrap it up, I'm gonna add a little bit of apple juice, just straight apple juice to the bottom. I don't want to braise it too much with that apple cider vinegar and stuff in there and give it too much tang. But some straight apple juice, give it a little sweet, and I'm gonna dust it right on top with a little bit more of that barbecue rub, just to kind of fill it in. And other than that, we're going all the way till it's pulled tender. All right, team, we back at it. It's been about 3 hours in on the smoke. This baby's looking good. So I like to use my spatula that I got from my griddle. Whenever I'm like kind of messing around, moving meat, stuff like that, moving my brisket, grabbing some ribs off, just because it's a lot bigger, it allows me a lot more surface area to kind of be more in control. So I'm done with this rack. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of apple juice directly into it. Don't need a lot. I just want to get a little bit of moisture in there to get it kind of started. At the end of the day, it's so much fat that's gonna actually come out of there. It's gonna be plenty of moisture when we actually finish this thing off at about 200 degrees. And the other thing that I like to do is give it a nice little top end coating of rub. Again, this rub isn't super salty. It's got a nice little sweetness to it. So just to make sure we got that flavor locked in, not to mention, since I'm gonna pull this, there's gonna be a lot of areas that don't get as much, taste and seasoning. So it'll be nice to have us a good bark and a good exterior to kind of finish it out. All right, we'll go ahead and foil the top. I'll bring you in so you can get a peek at what this looks like. And then we're going back on the pit. I'm gonna go ahead and throw my probe in now. And we're gonna be going all the way until it's about 200 degrees. And from there, I'll kind of come through and confirm it with my Instapen and make sure we probe tender. Completely put it in there and put it to bed. This is what we look like. Do a little bit of extra rub on top. And then, like I said, didn't add much apple juice, just enough where I got a little bit of moisture to kind of get it going once we wrap it up and get the steam going. And then from there, the rest of that fat will render at the bottom. And we should be there pretty soon. All right, we got it done. Before we actually take a second to look at this meat, if you're new to the channel or if you haven't yet, take a second, hit that bottom right corner, like and subscribe so you can follow along on all the future cooks and keep up on some of the good things that we're doing over here with the channel. But other than that, let's get into it. All right, we got it done. Took about, once I wrapped it up, about another hour and 20 minutes. We're gonna get this first looks at it. Temping out at about 200. It was probe tender once I went and double checked it with the Thermopen. So I just want to kind of break the cycle. Oh yeah, look at all that extra juice came out of there. So we should have got a good render. So I just want to break this cycle, kind of get some air in there, and I'm gonna kind of just loosely tin it and throw this in the microwave and let it just hang out for about 30 minutes. We'll bring it out and pull it apart and we'll see what we got. Check out that finished product. Tell me we ain't looking good. Got a nice little bit of juice. I mean, I thought about it, if you wanted to, you can definitely sauce it. I would have probably sauced it, put it on there lightly, and then put it back out there just so my sauce could have hardened up a little bit. But I didn't even really want to because I'm going to be using a couple different things. And I got some sauce that I'm actually going to be putting on my sliders. So I didn't want to have too much of a barbecue sauce flavor. But at the end of the day, that Malcolm's Killer Hog barbecue rub gives it a beautiful color. And this baby's sucking, and you can already see those juices coming up out of here and pooling. I just want to show you a little bit of how this thing pulls. You can slice this, but literally you can find your strands where you got your meat, just like that, and kind of just start breaking them apart as you're getting into this pulled section. And we're just going to tear this whole thing apart. I'm gonna get this all broke down, and then I'm gonna pull this back, and then I give you a chance to see how we're gonna put together these sliders. Hold tight. Team, I wanted to bring you in here as I'm halfway through is kind of getting this thing together and getting rid of some of the fat that I didn't want before I can actually present you something to actually look at that's pretty. Well, I ain't gonna lie, I've already tasted it and it is amazing. You see how juicy everything is. Remember, we didn't inject this or anything, but I just wanted to show you there's gonna be kind of layers, and easily I could have let this rest a little bit longer and people will cut this in slices, maybe turn around and then throw this into a skillet or a pan and actually fry it off and make sandwiches that way. Or with that said, like I said, I'm gonna be pulling it, or I got some nice solid pieces where all my fat is rendered really nicely, where literally I can just pull these off in like sheets. And I just wanted to kind of show you what it looks like there as you're kind of deconstructing that belly. You get down to that bottom layer. This was right where I had my fat and where everything was scored off. Under there, you got a beautiful layer of nothing but pure meat. This is some of the best meat that's literally been in between a fat layer on top and a fat layer in bottom. And this right here is where the gold is at. So I'm gonna leave some of these pieces whole so I can give me some bark and some of that. And then we'll have these inner pieces that's gonna be broke down. You'll see it all at the end. Hey family, we got this thing together. I wanted to bring you back in here real quick just so we can get a close up so you can actually see what you saw in the beginning and see what it came out to be. There's that pretty meat of that pork belly over here to the far left that I said that's sitting there at the bottom in that layer between two layers of fat. I got a little bit of those bark pieces in the middle, and then those pork belly slider sandwiches that I put together. Nothing too crazy on those. All that is a little bit of that pork belly meat in there, along with that slaw that I got you that recipe to. All you gotta do is take that slaw out the refrigerator when it's time to serve it, drain it, and then put it right on top as a little bit of topping. And then from there, I got a little Korean barbecue sauce that I'm gonna put on there just to give it a little pop. And those little sliders are gonna be together. I have been tasting along the way, but obviously I gotta let you know what I taste and what I think. Hold up. All right. All in all, that took about 4 hours and 20 minutes, and we back, and this thing is ready. Put together this little plate. You got to see what it looks like. The only thing left is for me to taste, so I'm not gonna talk too much about this. First things first, I'm gonna start over here with this beautiful meat. Make sure we can get it in there close so you can just see that. Obviously, we tender. Great flavor throughout. That's great. Let it come to me. Good smoke throughout, but everything is nice and mild. I like that. Now let's get to some of this bark. I can hear my dog back there. My dog smell this. My whole house is scented up. You would think, let that kind of focus in on there. You would almost think that I put barbecue sauce on there. It's just some of the bark pieces on top. Fire. I gotta make sure I go ahead and order me a little bit more of that Malcolm rub tonight. That barbecue sauce rub, or that barbecue rub. Mine's getting low. That's my absolute favorite. Beautiful color, and the flavor that's in there, second to none. Finally, let me give me a bite of my pork belly slider sandwich. That's great. I even got my K-pop sauce on there, my Korean barbecue sauce. That give it a little zing. I think you'll like. Make sure you leave me a message if you end up trying that slaw. Let me know if you like it. It's got a pickled taste, but it really brings out the pork. Give you something different in there to give you a good base. Help everything sit on the plate right. I'm glad y'all stuck with me. It's another good cook. At the end of the day, we only did half of that pork belly, so stay tuned for the next cook. And we're gonna do a little something different with it. Something else you can do when these meat prices is high. $35 gonna get you 2 meals and take care of the whole family. Peace.